All right, tonight's video for courage, the subtle emotion of courage, is purposeful. This is another one that I skipped. Not sure why. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe I did it subconsciously. But purposeful, I could kind of understand why that would be in courage, because there's a sense of self reliance. There's no dependency on others. I mean, the purpose that one chooses may be to help other people, but it's not dependent on them. It's a personal thing. It's free, or beginning to become free. So, uh, right now I'm just noticing how I still have resistance to these videos. I still have a little bit of tiredness, hesitation about talking, saying whatever is on my mind that comes up in the moment. And I'm a little surprised. Like I keep saying, So I'm just going to investigate that, contemplate it, explore it. But I wanted to acknowledge it. I think that's the first step. So the memory that came to me for purposeful, let's see. What came to my mind was only one. I mean, it was the first thing, but then I was like, oh, is there anything else that I've ever felt purposeful about? Not really. It's just one thing. And that's when I did my Neo Tantra training. I committed to like an intention for this year-long training of why I wanted to be a teacher, like what was the greater purpose. And when I came up instantly, didn't take too long for me to think about it, was three three aspects. One was to help men, because to me, being a man, often we're taught to be strong, but not really be in touch with ourselves. As a general rule, not all men, but generally. And Neo Tantra is all about sex, right? So, sex to a man typically is just pleasure of the lower half, the dick, you know, balls, that pleasure sensation, the pelvis. And Neo Tantra taught me that there's a lot more to it than that. There was feeling and love and intimacy, spirituality, courage, vulnerability, all these aspects that I think is lacking for most men. Like we don't really have a reference for it. It's not modeled to us. Again, these are just generalities, not all men, but I think across the board, for a lot of men, that's how it is. So the second intention was to heal or free people of shame. And this one seems like a big one to me because throughout almost all cultures, throughout history, as far as I can tell, I mean, this is just a generalization, an assumption, but I have looked into it and I have observed a lot of different cultures. There's shame, and a lot of that shame has to do with sex. And it really limits people, really creates a lot of suffering, a lot of closed, isolated feelings. And shame is uh, when it's internalized, what they call toxic shame, where you think it's part of you, there's something wrong with you. That's literally a living hell. I lived it for a long time. I'm still finding little fragments of it. I'm always surprised it's still there, like it's so deeply part of me. So I felt really passionate about helping people with becoming free of that. And the third intention for this training was just to hold a space to help people with disabilities just enjoy sex. Because oftentimes, as someone who has a disability that, like I'm considered legally blind, I have some other stuff going on that no one can ever figure out. But it really creates this identity of pain and suffering and limitation and hopelessness. It really does. And sex is a beautiful thing. It is one of the greatest sources of pleasure, of connection, of love. I mean, all those things can happen without sex, but they can definitely be a part of sex. And just pleasure, just general pleasure, when someone's in chronic pain or disability, oftentimes it's easy to just disregard any sort of pleasure. You're so hyper focused on what's wrong or what's hurting. So those were the three intentions I came up with for this training. And I could really feel that sense of purpose, like it fired me up. And it was a good directional course for me, because as I moved forward in this training, since those were my intentions to help other people, I'm the type of person that believes, across the board, you can only help somebody help themselves, and you can only help them with your own reference point. And, I courageously went right into a lot of messy, hard, heavy feelings and beliefs and situations. It's just, stuff just kept coming up for me. And I had a lot of courage to face those things, because I knew the more I could help myself or be free, then I could turn around and help other people with that. So it was a great motivation in that way. And that's where I get this sense that purposeful is in the energy of courage. And it was interesting so much that the types of situations I was sourcing, that I was bringing into my reality, were aligned with those intentions, even when I was outside of the training. And, I could still feel that courage. I could still feel it. It's like this, I'm going to do this. I can do it. I can help people. I can face these things. I have a purpose. And it gives me a little tingle. So that's tonight's video. The subtle emotion for courage, purposeful. I'll see you guys tomorrow.